Wade
and Wade
reacts.
Last time we did a Kenny Lauderdale video was Minky Momo. This time we have a video titled "It Moves at 2 Seconds a Frame." So let's get into it.
If you were to build an anime from the ground up, right, and you were to make it as bad as you possibly could on purpose, as a joke, right? And you were to put it out there and be like, hey, look at this bad anime I made. Pretty funny, huh? Would it look like this? Would it look like Nora? Was this anime created to be bad on purpose?
Looks like it was.
I failed to see how this came.
We saw
into
this
being.
before.
I
we
really
did.
do.
That's crazy.
There's only so many ways that you can say, well, this anime is bad. But Nora just transcends that. Nora, if there's a line graph and, here's Berserk 2015 and, let's put that on there. And then, Gunbuster is way on the opposite end of the anime spectrum where the good stuff is. I think Nora would be the very end of the line. It's that bad.
Dang.
I legitimately
So the whole
thought
series
that when
looked
I
like
was
this.
watching
Yeah, what was that
Laserdisc
video that
player
we watched
this was
that looked
being
like
played
this?
off of had some kind of weird.
I think it was titled "When You Fire the Animators."
Because I don't know if
Oh,
you've ever
yeah,
had
that's-
an old VCR or an old.
It was this
player,
scene
but
right
they
here,
did
too.
that.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was
some
only
kind of
this scene that looked like that.
backwards mode that I didn't know how to get it onto, but then it starts speeding up again, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then you start, you realize it hits you. You're like, oh my god. It's not something wrong with why I'm playing it on. The internet isn't screwed up. My Laserdisc player is playing fine. This anime actually is real, and it looks like this. And
Who watched it?
you can never
Is
go
my
back.
question.
I remember a time before Nora, when I thought that pretty much all anime was at least kind of good and that I could pick pretty much any VHS tape. I picked out Shonan Baku Sozoku, pretty good anime. I was like, oh, okay, this is great. I should show people this. And then you pick out Nora, and then the
The
darkness
complete opposite.
sets in, and nothing is the same. In a medium that is constantly trying not to animate things, because drawing things is hard, obviously, right? Aesthetics are incredibly important. I shouldn't have to point this out when talking about an anime, that anime has to be, animated. It's like right in there in the name.
I mean, you would think
When
so.
you're not animating things that are, like if you are stuck on a character's face
That's insane.
where nothing is happening, right? You want that one still
think I might have
frame
worked
that's
on
gonna
this
be
one.
focused on for like 5 seconds or so, not to look like a hot pile of garbage, right? Because if it does,
Bruh,
you're gonna
what is
notice
going
people
on?
with dots for eyes. You're gonna notice that signs that have letters on them aren't properly spelled, and nobody spell checked it because nobody who worked on what you're animating knew any English. This one.
That's what I was going to say. They are
sign,
Japanese.
my God, departure. I read this and my brain throws an error. I almost blue screen trying to
this is
understand
insane.
what the hell is going on in this show. Nora says hell to animation. Let's
want an
just
AI
throw all that
remaster.
out. We don't know how to spell.
I wonder how that would
We
look.
don't
Hey, I
know
could
how to
probably fix it
animate.
up.
You barely know how to draw. I don't know how you get a character and you can't draw a circle
Hey.
for an eye and you have like an octagon or a rectangle for an eye, but that happens in this anime. Nora was only released on VHS and Laserdisc. Shocker. I know that this didn't get released in any other format. It's almost like nobody wanted to re-release it. They didn't think some jackass from the year 2019 from the future was going to start making fun of their anime from the 80s that they barely probably got out the door. But here we are, and it's a thing, and I'm looking at it, and I don't know how to describe it. It is...
What is it even about?
It's frustratingly confusing how this went out the door. It doesn't make any sense.
It's like somebody animated
Make
this
a
in their
video
basement
about
or
me if
something.
you can. Nora screams at you from the darkness beyond time. Does Nora have a story? What is Nora about?
That's my question.
It kind of has a story. I'd like to tell you the plot, but there really isn't any. Nora is a bounty hunter for some reason. She has psychic powers for some reason. She can stop time for some reason.
What?
She can teleport for some reason. Also, she doesn't need money even though she's a bounty hunter, which makes her some kind of Ultra Instinct tier elder god, capable of doing literally anything she
What?
wants because she's Nora, goddammit. There are supposed to be checks and balances, so things like this, they don't happen, right? What series of events even led to this being pressed onto a laserdisc? Who was responsible for this paragon of animation?
At least everybody has a different
when
face.
looking up Nora, one name and one
True.
name only comes up: Mikuria Satomi. Not a lot of info on this guy, but he's listed as something that I almost never see in anime as 3D art director on the famous 3D helicopter scene from the Golgo 13 movie. All the other info that I can find
okay,
about
that
him
was a
says that he was
pretty
on the
good scene.
bleeding edge of computers at the time. And on the other side of the laserdisc, you can see him drawing his perfect angel Nora on a computer that must have cost more than this entire anime. And I say special, but it really just gives us no info about how this anime got made. It's just him and his crew goofing around, and it was probably made entirely as an excuse to get some girl to dress up as his anime waifu. There are entire scenes.
I wonder
where it's
how long
just
it
him
took them to
showing
make
off his
this.
motorcycle to some cosplayer that they hired. If you wanted to dress up as Nora and walk through an anime convention at a blazing 60 seconds a frame, this is what the official Twinkle Nora Rock Me cosplay costume looks like. And if you try to track down the original manga that has never been reprinted, by the way, you'll find
That's
a picture
crazy.
of Nora on the cover riding a motorcycle that looks suspiciously like the motorcycle that Nora's creator is showing off. Now, I'm not saying the guy who made this anime made it specifically so he could spend the budget on a sick Kawasaki motorcycle, but maybe, just maybe, you don't also spend the rest of that budget on a 3D intro for your anime special at a time where computers take up an entire floor of an apartment building. I have never seen
Yeah, I
an
think you might be
anime
onto something with
looks
that.
so bad that the flip book illustrating what the anime is supposed to look like when it's
Looks
actually
better.
finished is better animated
that little dude supposed
than
to be
the
him?
anime itself.
That's what I was thinking.
You don't draw one frame of an anime and just shake the camera up and down to simulate an earthquake.
Maybe you don't make Nora into an anime. Maybe you say to yourself, you know what? That 3D sequence in Golgo 13, it was not up to my standards. Maybe I should stick to making manga. Maybe that's the choice.
Oh, okay. You said
Maybe
3D
you
sequence.
do something else. Maybe you
I thought
start
he was talking about
working on
something
the
else.
CDI, which apparently
What
this
is
guy
that?
worked on for some reason. I don't even believe that, but it's in the Wikipedia article on the guy's Japanese Wikipedia page. To make that many mistakes in life is just unheard of, but it's there and it's staring me in the face, so I have to at least mention it, right? Let's say something nice about our perfect angel Nora's perfect anime. At least the music is good, right? Honestly, it's
Okay.
not that bad. The problem is that no
That's
matter
one of the pros,
how
I
good
guess,
the music is,
among the many
it is
cons.
completely overshadowed by what little animation there is, if you can even call that
Yeah, that's
PowerPoint
horrible.
presentation an animation sequence. And that doesn't happen once.
Why is she
that happens
hiding if she
twice.
has all those
that
powers?
Scene that I uploaded
That's what I'm
onto
saying.
YouTube, which you're
She's
probably
basically
watching
omnipotent,
right now
taking
if I'm
cover,
doing this review,
hiding with a
is
gun.
a minute into the anime. This isn't something that happens like way at the
That kinda
end
looks
when
like
they ran
dude.
out of money. It is right there, front and center. It's not hidden. They wanted you to see this.
Bro, what the heck? That's the best
were
animation they've shown.
Proud.
I'm sorry if I sound a little bit off my game today, but I tend to not have to use terms like PowerPoint, animated manga, 300 IQ, 1 frame per second, big brain experience. I don't use terms like this when I normally talk about my anime, right? I guess this is the part of the video where I tell you that Rock Me Nora, or Nora Rock Me, or Twinkle Rock Me Nora, whatever the hell you want to call this anime, it's actually a sequel. This was not Japan's first attempt at making Nora into an anime.
Now, how'd
You
the
can
first one
believe
look?
that. Just a half a year earlier, another Nora anime came out, and it looks nothing like this.
Okay.
It doesn't look anything like this. It may be a little boring, sure, but at least it was animated.
It
An
looks a lot
attempt
better, matter of
was
fact.
made. The original Nora anime came out January 21st, 1985. Twinkle Nora Rock Me came out
What the heck?
November 21st, 1985. They made one OVA, and then
Man,
in the
come
span
on.
of a few months, somehow, this happened. I am a worse person for having seen this. When the comment section on a 2-minute clip from your anime looks like a therapy group for Vietnam War veterans, that's kind of a red flag for your anime. You know, it's
For
one
sure.
thing to say an anime doesn't look good, or that the character designs are boring, or that it's not animated well. But even if every frame of this anime was done by Studio Ghibli, I could not call this a good anime. And man, oh man, that is really, really saying something. Let's talk about voice actors for a second. The voice actor for Nora also voiced Best Girl Barry
Okay.
from Twinkle Heart. You guys watched Twinkle Heart, right?
She got the same signature scream in both
That's
movies.
pretty much the most specific piece of anime trivia that has ever been said on YouTube. This anime fails on almost every front I can think of. There's no animation, there's no story. This thing barely qualifies as an anime. I would like to point out that animation is a visual medium. It allows you to make literally
That's even better
anything
than Nora.
happen. Anything at all. If you use your imagination, you can make a show where a spooky skeleton pushes people around, or a political drama about the ups and downs of democracy. Nora says, forget all that, we don't even need animation where we're going.
Or story,
It's a
apparently.
shame it honestly looks that bad, because the original manga, from what I can tell, it looks really nice. Good line work, it looks very pulpy, it reminds me of good things. Things with animation, things I like. You know, things that look like anime, like Lensman and Space Adventure Cobra. Stuff that
Never
I've
heard of
seen
any of
and
these.
enjoyed.
Me either.
This
That might be something I
anime
gotta check
is
out.
so densely packed with things that are wrong. It feels like reading Highlights magazine. In this scene, they decided to animate this one guy in this crowd. Why him? Why was that so important? It's like peeling an onion. There's so many layers to this one 2-minute piece of animation. It's incredible. If you were a madman, and I mean an absolute mad lad, and you wanted to own a piece of animation history, a cell from the film that this anime came from could be yours on eBay for the low, low price of 122 American dollars.
Man, it's not even worth
Nora
it.
might look like it was sent back in time by Terminators to warn us of a future where the Berserk 2016 anime exists.
What is
but
going
Rock Me
on?
Nora's
That's what I'm
true
saying.
value lies in its spectacular mediocrity. It is the sort of lightning in a bottle that could only happen in the 1980s. It exists
Is she the
as
only
a
woman in this
boogeyman
anime?
to keep
'Cause that don't
future
count right
animators
there.
in check, to show them
I think
what
so.
can happen when you don't do your job.
Dude woke
Better
up.
tighten up that animation. You don't want another Nora on your hands.
Kenny Lauderdale, he has some good videos, some interesting videos, because he goes back in time and goes to the 80s and the 90s and looks at anime that we never even heard of. I think they need to do a movie, a crossover event. They need to add a lady from this versus Minky Momo
Oh, that would be a good fight.
versus Peter Pan. And I think they have some on their hands. I don't understand, why isn't this a meme? I don't see this on the internet. This needs to be all over the internet.
It does, because this movie might be, matter of fact, it is the worst display of animation in anime history. And on top of that, this doesn't even have a storyline. Nora is devoid of a storyline, plus the animation is terrible. I mean, this is the worst that things can get.
Yeah, and when he said, why did they animate that one guy? I don't even think they animated that dude. He woke up and seen how bad the animation was.
He said, I'm about to get up out of here.
He had a Neo moment. He figured out he was in the Matrix.
Yeah, but this was terrible. And then she can do anything she wants to. She's basically omnipotent. Then in one scene, she's hiding from a police chief with a gun that she doesn't need because she has telekinesis.
Yeah, and I mean, what was going on with that lady that turned into a monster? That to me, that's a better story right there.
Yeah, I want to see what that's about.
Yeah.
Looking at the first installment of Nora and seeing that it was a legitimate anime, even though Kenny Lauderdale said that it wasn't in any way seemingly related to the sequel, I wonder if the studio required them to make a second season or a second installment, and they just gave the studio whatever they wanted to give the studio. Like, hey, this is what you get for contracting us to do a second one. I wonder if it was one of those situations.
Yeah, if it was the same team, because he said this one came out months later. Dude's like he said, I think he had it. Dude made that 3D intro and he bought that motorcycle. That's where all the money went.
You ain't got that girl too.
Yeah.
That does it for our reaction to It Moves at 2 seconds a frame by Kenny Lauderdale. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comment section. Also like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss a video from Wade and Wade Reacts.
And we're out of here.
Peace.